"You're not needed at Christmas." That's what the message said. Just 6 small words, sitting cold on my phone screen. I read it again and again, hoping I had misunderstood. Maybe he meant something else. Maybe it was a joke. But no. It was from my grandson, Jacob. I stared at it for a long time. My hands shook a little. I didn't even know what to reply. My heart started beating fast. Not from anger, but from something deeper. A quiet kind of hurt that feels like you're disappearing from someone's life and they didn't even notice. I sat down at the kitchen table. The light from the window fell across the old tablecloth I'd used for years. The one with small red snowflakes. I had already started planning Christmas dinner. I had written a grocery list. I even bought ribbon for wrapping presents. And now, "You're not needed at Christmas." It kept repeating in my head like a song I didn't want to hear. Jacob was only 22. I helped raise him when his parents were busy working. I used to pick him up from school, cook his favorite meals, tell him stories before bed. He used to say, "Grandma, you make Christmas feel like magic." How quickly magic fades, I thought. I tried calling my son, Jacob's father. No answer. I called again. Then I sent him a message. "Hi, sweetheart. I got a strange message from Jacob. Can we talk?" He read it, but didn't reply. That silence said everything. That night, I sat in bed thinking about all the Christmas mornings from the past. The laughter, the smell of baked cookies, Jacob running to open gifts, my son carving the turkey. I remembered how loud the house used to be, full of love and noise. Now it was quiet. The clock ticking sounded louder than ever. For the next few days, I tried to focus on small things. Feeding the cat, watering the plants, knitting a scarf. But every time I closed my eyes, I saw that message. It hurt in a way I can't quite explain. It wasn't anger. It was more like grief. Like losing something you thought would always be there. Finally, I decided something. I was going to show up anyway. I didn't care if they said I wasn't needed. Family doesn't work like that. You don't stop being family because someone gets tired of you. So I baked Jacob's favorite cookies, the chocolate chip ones with a little cinnamon. I wrapped gifts for everyone, even though I wasn't sure if they'd take them. I found an old red sweater I used to wear every Christmas. I looked in the mirror before leaving and whispered to myself, "You still belong." Christmas morning came. I woke up early, like always. The city outside was quiet, covered in snow. I took a deep breath, grabbed the gifts, and walked to the bus stop. It was cold, and my breath made small clouds in the air. The bus driver smiled when I got on. "Merry Christmas, ma'am," he said. I smiled back, though my heart was heavy. When I reached their house, I could see lights inside, laughter too. For a moment, I stood on the sidewalk, wondering if I should even knock. Maybe I'd ruin their day. Maybe they didn't want me there. But then I remembered Jacob's little face when he was 5. The way he hugged me every Christmas morning. That memory gave me courage. So I walked up and rang the bell. Through the window, I saw Jacob open the door. He froze when he saw me. "Grandma?" he said, surprised. Behind him, my son and daughter-in-law looked confused. "Merry Christmas," I said softly, trying to smile. "I brought cookies." No one said anything for a few seconds. You could almost hear the clock ticking inside the house. Then my son sighed and said, "Mom, we didn't expect you." "I know," I said, "but I couldn't stay away." They let me in, though the warmth in the room didn't feel the same. The tree was beautiful, full of gold and white ornaments. The smell of roasted turkey filled the air. But something was missing. That feeling of love, of being welcome. I placed the cookies on the table. Jacob didn't look at me much. He kept checking his phone. My daughter-in-law started serving food, trying to keep things polite. At one point, I quietly asked Jacob, "Why did you send that message?" He looked at me, a little embarrassed. "Grandma, it's not personal. We're just doing a small family Christmas this year. It's different now. Different, I asked. Does different mean without me? He didn't answer. My son finally said, Mom, we just thought it'd be easier this way. You know, less crowded, less pressure. I smiled, though my eyes burned. I didn't know love was pressure, I said softly. The room went quiet. After dinner, I helped clean the table, even though my daughter-in-law said she'd do it. I wanted to stay useful, to feel like I belonged somewhere in that house. But when I looked around, I realized I was like a guest, someone who came uninvited. After a while, I put on my coat. I'll get going now, I said. Thank you for letting me stay a bit. My son nodded awkwardly. Jacob finally looked up. Bye, Grandma. I smiled and said, Merry Christmas, Jacob. Outside, snow was falling gently. The street was quiet, and lights shimmered in the windows of other homes. Families were laughing, hugging, singing. I walked slowly, holding my bag of gifts, the ones no one opened. When I reached home, I placed the gifts under my own little tree. Then I sat down and had a cookie, one of the ones I baked for Jacob. It tasted sweet and sad at the same time. I thought about how love sometimes changes shape. It doesn't always leave suddenly. Sometimes it fades, like a photo losing color. People move on, make new memories, forget who used to be there. But that night, something inside me also changed. I realized I didn't need an invitation to feel worthy. I didn't need their approval to know my heart was full. I had loved them with everything I had. And that love would always be part of me, even if they didn't see it anymore. In the days that followed, I started doing little things for myself again. I joined a local reading club. I baked cookies for the neighbors' kids. I called an old friend from church. Slowly, my home began to feel warm again. Not because others filled it, but because I did. Then 1 week later, there was a knock on my door. It was Jacob. He looked nervous. He held a small gift bag. Hi, Grandma, he said quietly. I smiled, a bit surprised. Jacob, what brings you here? He looked down. I came to say sorry. I felt tears rise, but held them back. Come in, I said softly. He stepped inside and looked around. It smells like cookies, he said with a small smile. I was baking, I replied. Would you like some? We sat at the table, the same table where I had once cried over his message. He looked at me and said, Dad told me you were hurt. I didn't mean to make you feel that way. I thought maybe you didn't like big gatherings anymore. Jacob, I said, it's not about gatherings. It's about being remembered. He nodded, his eyes softening. I understand now. He reached into the bag and took out a framed photo. It was of me and him when he was a child, sitting together, both laughing. I found this, he said. I wanted you to have it. I touched the frame gently. Thank you, my dear. This means a lot. He stayed for tea. We talked for an hour. It wasn't perfect, but it felt like something healing had begun. When he left, he hugged me tightly. The kind of hug I hadn't felt in years. That night, I sat by the window, watching the snow fall again. The world felt peaceful. I realized that love doesn't disappear just because someone forgets it for a while. It waits, quietly, patiently, until the heart remembers. I didn't know if I'd be invited next Christmas. Maybe yes, maybe no. But I knew one thing for sure. I wouldn't stop loving them, even from afar. Because sometimes, the strongest love is the one that keeps giving, even when it's not returned right away. If you're listening to this and you've ever felt forgotten by your family, please remember this. Your love still matters. Your kindness still echoes, even when no one seems to hear it. You are not invisible. You are not unwanted. Because one day, someone, maybe the same people who hurt you, will remember your warmth, your care, your heart, And when they do, they'll realize they lost something precious. Until then, hold your heart gently. Keep loving, keep believing, keep living. You still matter. You always have. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe. Somewhere out there, someone like you might need to hear this too.